I'm Peter Olmsted. I'm 38 years old. When I was younger, people described me as a little bit of. I was diagnosed with ADHD and a mild learning disability. My family weren't there for me. I got put to foster care for 18 months, and that was the worst time of my life. I never went to school. I always got into trouble. Had a gambling addiction. I had an alcohol problem. I felt like I was on my own. I had no family, no one backing me up. When I got older, I found it hard looking after myself. A lot of people were worried about me. I was growing a lot of weight because I was 58 stone. I couldn't look after myself. I couldn't even get out of bed. My home was a mess. I had 3 cats. I had 2 rabbits. And now I've only got 2 cats now. The rest of them being rehomed. So I put on a Adult Support and Protection Act for my own safety and well-being. I got an advocate. I felt safer. I felt guided better. When I got my letters from my meetings, some of the things that were said in the letter was hard for me to understand. So I had to phone my advocate to explain the letter to me better. We discussed what the needs were for the meeting, like a couple of days prep before the actual meeting. Sometimes we met at my location, sometimes we went out for a coffee, sometimes we met at the advocacy office, wherever we could meet because of our schedules. To start off with, that was nervous for me. I was pretty shy, but then I built up my confidence with my advocacy worker. Because of my ADHD, because of my anxiety and stress problems, I used to get quite stressed before my meetings. I was very nervous when people were talking about me. I sometimes had a panic attack. I met with my advocacy team the week before because I didn't want to speak at my meeting. I got them to speak on my behalf. They're really good at doing that for me. My advocacy would help me to say what I wanted to say at my meeting a lot better than I would do on my own. It's a lot easier to disagree with people when you've got your advocacy helping you. Basically, the meeting is about you, and it's like a circle around one table. Some things you might not agree on, but that can be resolved. To start off with, I was being negative towards it. I was saying, no, that wasn't me. But then at the end, I took the support. I am now 24-hour support, and I've never looked back ever since. I had quite a lot of debts after me explaining it to advocacy. I felt a lot better and a lot more confident. We also had to discuss how I would pay it back. I could trust my advocacy worker with a lot more things than some other people. They're not there to help the care manager or the staff who are with you. They're there for you, and that's what they're there for. And advocacy helped me with my problems and my situations. So I recommend advocacy. If there was no advocacy there, you would feel that you've got no one to understand what you're going through. My recommendation is for everyone who's been through the wars like myself, who has learning disabilities, who has no one there to help. I recommend getting yourself an advocate. advocate will be there for you.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Campbell Thompson. I'm the independent chair of the Adult Support and Protection Committee, and I would like to welcome you to this, our second Moving Forward Together event. But I would also like to take the opportunity on behalf of all of us to again thank Peter for the excellent video, which says so much to all of us. So thank you so much, Peter. We really appreciate it. And I think Kevin's on the call today. Kevin, we thank you for putting it together, and I know you'll convey our thanks on behalf of all of us. Can I just say thank you to you all for your attendance? It's not missed on me the demands that are placed upon you every single day. But can I thank you for the work that you do in relation to adult support and protection, so often unseen and selflessly right across the city. Thank you very much indeed. It is very much appreciated. As I say, today's event is split into various sections, and I just wanted to outline one or two of them. Before I do, however, I wanted to draw your attention to the biennial report, which has just been published. It's a report that is published, as it says, every 2 years in relation to the work of the Adult Support and Protection Committee, and I'd like to draw your attention to it. It has some very, very useful information. But for me, the best section is the user forum. And Peter and various others, their photos are within it. And it's good, I think, for all of us to know that we're listening to that voice as we shape our services. So I draw your attention to it, and I think that Val's going to pop it in the chat. Val's going to speak to us a little bit about the recent inspection. Who doesn't love an inspection, eh? But in fairness, we've come through that. It was a very positive outcome. In fact, it was one of the best nationally, which I think gives all of us an assurance that we're on the right track, but none of us would ever be complacent. Secondly, we're going to hear a little bit about the work of the new code of practice from Nicola, who's going to talk us through the impact of it and what it means for that service delivery against services that are already very much stretched. It would be good also to hear your feedback in relation to these events. I'm conscious how busy people are and the demands that are placed upon you. So it may well be that moving forward, we want to discuss various things, potentially the impact of the economic crisis in relation to the delivery of adult protection. And I have to say too that, as we all know, there's always change. And the proposed National Care Service has an impact on all of you and indeed the service that's delivered. So we do try to ensure that the Adult Protection Committee is kept up to date with such changes, but I think it's appropriate too that that's absolutely shared so that you can be informed well too. Finally, I trust that you enjoy the day, but I do want to say thank you to Maggie and the Stakeholder Committee for the work that they've done to pull these events together, and also to Val Vertigans, because adult protection wouldn't work so well, certainly from my perspective, without Val's assistance. So I'm very thankful for that too. So please enjoy the day, and thank you very much indeed for your attendance. I'll hand over to yourself, Val.
Morning, everybody. Thank you, Campbell. I will share my presentation. Okay, so yeah, as Campbell mentioned, my name is Val Vertigans. I'm Lead Strategic Officer for Adult Public Protection in the Health and Social Care Partnership. And one of the main elements of my role is to support the Adult Protection Committee. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the inspection that took place earlier this year. So in summary, it was a joint inspection of adult support and protection across social work, health and police in the city. So that the three relevant regulators scrutinised the three different bodies with the care inspector as the lead regulator. And the inspection took place between February and April of this year. There were two main focuses, and the inspectorate used their, they have a quality indicator framework, which you can find on the Care Inspectorate website if you'd be interested. But the two main focuses were on key processes and strategic leadership. So how good are our key processes and strategic leadership in adult support and protection? There were a number of elements to the methodology that was used. We had to submit some documentary evidence. So the main bit of that was a position statement, a kind of a self-evaluation of where we felt we were at as a multi-agency partnership in relation to adult support and protection in Aberdeen. There was a staff survey which was circulated widely and was completed by 327 members of staff across the partnership, which was a good response. And that was pretty much split across health, social work and police staff with other staff as well. So hopefully you did get a chance to fill that in and to contribute to that. And then the other key element was an audit of case files, which was the bit that required the most preparation and thinking about. The inspectors looked at specific case files across the agencies. The inspection report was published in June. I've put the link in the slides, and the slides will be circulated at the end of today's session. Excuse me. So if you haven't had a chance to have a look at the report, you know, I would commend it. It's not a long read. It's quite a straightforward read. You can find it on the Care Inspectorate website otherwise. So the main findings of the inspection were really very positive. The inspectors found that our key processes were effective with areas for improvement, always going to be areas for improvement, but these were outweighed by clear strengths supporting positive experiences and outcomes for individuals. In terms of our strategic leadership, the inspectors found that we were very effective in Aberdeen, demonstrating major strengths in supporting positive experiences and outcomes for individuals. And as Campbell's already referenced, I think we were one of only two areas that had achieved that very effective rating at the point when our report was published, although there may be other areas now that have also got that rating. The inspectors found a number of key strengths. Firstly, our new adult protection social work team undertaking collaborative and effective screening of referrals. I say new, but actually the team has been about probably a year now, unbelievably. Don't know where the time has gone. But the team really, you know, works hard to undertake enhanced screening and early intervention work, and the evidence of that is coming through in terms of fewer referrals actually moving on to the investigation stage of the process due to that early intervention work, as I say. And I'll just mention that the team was recognised recently in the Aberdeen City Council Star Awards, which are an annual event recognising success across staff in the council. So the team were recognised in the Star Awards, and very well deserved, I think. Another strength the inspectors found was in our communication and information sharing at every stage of the process, and I think that just reflects the strength of our collaborative working. Likewise, our commitment to joint learning and development. The inspectors saw that our vision was well embedded, with a strong culture of strategic change and improvement, and recognised in particular that even within the context of the pandemic, you know, we were pushing forward with improvement work around this agenda. And finally, our user engagement strategy and initiatives, including seeking feedback from users at the end of the process, and our Adult Protection Committee's user forum, which again Campbell has mentioned, but you know is a really valuable forum for looking at initiatives that the committee is taking forwards, providing feedback, providing their own thoughts, and really, you know, helping to inform our way forwards. And you know, that's something that we definitely want to build on. excuse me, our areas for improvement, our priority areas for improvement. I mean, I have to say that there was very little that was identified that we had not already identified ourselves via our self-evaluation and our quality assurance. So the inspection findings just really reinforced what we already knew. Quality of chronologies and protection planning. So I mean, you won't find, or you'll struggle to find another inspection report that doesn't have this as an area for improvement. It's a national issue, and it's being addressed at different levels across the country. The length of time taken to complete some investigations and case conferences. This was something that we were aware of and have been, taking steps to address already. Likewise, lack of consistent and accurate recording by health staff of their involvement in ASP. So I'm aware that NHS Grampian have taken definitive steps to address that in terms of awareness raising and training as well. The need for more adults at risk to access independent advocacy. And this for us was one of the key findings of the inspection, and some work has been done to really understand the issues around that. And that will inform steps that we can take to move forward to improve in that area. And then finally, a need to develop a multi-agency evaluation approach and better involve staff in change and improvement work. And that's something that we're going to come to shortly as part of this morning's session. So as I've mentioned, the Adult Protection Committee was already cognisant really of the majority of the areas for improvement. We have an improvement plan, and it was not a huge task to revise this to take account of the inspection findings. And the plan is being taken forward by 4 subcommittees of the Adult Protection Committee, each of which is responsible for different sections of the plan and is actively progressing improvement work. So our focus for today is in relation to that area for improvement about the need to develop multi-agency evaluation and better involve staff in change and improvement work. So, how will we do this? This is where we really want to hear from yourselves. So we're going to look at a couple of questions. What improvement work are you currently involved in? How do you identify what needs improving in your organisation and service, which we could learn from in relation to improving ASP? So those questions were included in the programme that was circulated. So we're hoping that you've maybe had a chance to have a little bit of a think about that. So without further ado, we're going to go into breakout room.
My name's Nicola Sawrey. I'm the Acting Adult Protection Coordinator. I sit within the Adult Protection Social Work team at Marshall College and Aberdeen City Council. So I'm just going to do a little bit of an overview today of the national updates and updates to the Code of Practice that were made this year. So the revised version of the Code of Practice aims to capture the changes made to the policy, legislation and practice and inform the development of local and national adult protection procedures. The Code of Practice has been developed collaboratively with many agencies. It's helped us to shape our understanding of best practice and what works. Excuse my windows whistling in the background. And there has also been a national implementation groups established, which Val has kind of already mentioned as well. So the key points that I just want to kind of remind people about from the Adult Support and Protection Scotland Act 2007 is that the Act places a duty on councils, their officers and health professionals to have regard to the Code of Practice. The revised Code of Practice replaces any previous versions, and throughout the Code of Practice there is a greater emphasis on trauma-informed practice and the impact of trauma on an adult's vulnerability. So here we've got noted down the main changes to the Code of Practice this year, and they're surrounding the 3-point criteria: capacity and consent, duty to refer, information sharing, relationship between inquiries and investigations, visits and interviews, assessing and managing risk, guidance for GPs, guidance for adult protection committees and a focus on trauma-informed practice. So I don't unfortunately have time to go into all the descriptions and explanations for these changes today, but if you've not already been able to familiarise yourself with them, please go to the link here once you get the slides sent to you, and it will take you to the Code of Practice updates, and familiarise yourself with them there. So the guidance for adult protection committees has kind of been added to. So each council must establish an APC, which includes but is not limited to the following functions, which relate to the safeguarding of adults at risk. So we need to keep under review the procedures and practices that we're using. We need to give information or advice or make proposals. They assist in or encourage the making of arrangements for improving the skills and knowledge of officers and employees, and we must have regard to the desirability of improving cooperation between each of the public bodies. So APCs should have representatives from all services and agencies who've got involvement with safeguarding adults at risk of harm. So there is an APC in place at the moment that involves Aberdeen City Council, Aberdeen Shire, Moray Health, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, Police Scotland, and some third sector agencies as well. And there's also subcommittees that have been created to support various pieces of work that are being done at the APC. So we've also had changes to learning reviews. So significant case reviews have been revised to ensure effective learning to prevent reoccurrence of the most serious events regarding adults at risk of harm. And the significant case reviews have now been renamed to learning reviews. So learning reviews should consider the following: understand the full circumstances of the death of or serious harm to an adult, examine and assess the role of all relevant services, explore any key practice issues and why they might have arisen, establish whether there are areas for improvement and lessons to be shared, consider whether services should be reviewed or developed, and establish findings which will allow the APC to consider what recommendations need to be made to improve the quality of services moving forward. There's also a huge drive on trauma-informed practice. So trauma-informed practice is an approach to care provision that considers the impact of trauma exposure on an individual's biological, psychological and social development. Delivering services in a trauma-informed way means understanding that individuals may have a history of traumatic experiences which might impact on their ability to feel safe and develop trusting relationships with services and professionals. So practitioners should be alert to the behaviours that compromise a client's health, well-being and safety. And that might have played a role in the individual's life that's helped them to survive and cope so far with their experiences of trauma. Taking a trauma-informed approach can result in better outcomes for people affected by trauma and seeks to address the barriers that those clients experience when accessing support. So adopting a trauma-informed approach to adult support and protection is good practice. And then just there at the bottom I've put in bold because a lot of people, because of the wording of it, I think can get a little bit confused around this practice, as trauma-informed practice is not intended to treat trauma-related issues. It seeks to reduce the barriers to services for individuals affected by trauma and to promote understanding of the impact that trauma has on them. Okay, so now I think we're going to head back soon into another breakout room, and the questions that we're going to look at this time around are related to the trauma-informed approach. So what is happening within your organisation in relation to being trauma-informed, and how knowledgeable are staff, and what would you like to see happening to embed this approach for you personally or within your workforce? So again, I think soon we'll be taken into our breakout.
Thanks very much, everyone. I hope you all managed to use the Jamboards and get some information down on there. They can be a bit tricky, but it's certainly worth, from our point of view, hearing directly from you about what your feelings are around improvement in trauma-informed practice. Claire is going to drop an evaluation form into the chat, And if you can, in the next couple of minutes, take a few minutes to just, it's very, very short, to quickly go through that and give us a little bit of instant feedback, that would be really helpful. The reason why we do this at the end of the session is that it's easier if you can capture people at the end, because often when people go, then they go and that's them, they don't come back. So sending it out later isn't always the best way to do it. Is it coming in, Claire? Excellent, there we go. So I just wanted to say thanks first of all to Peter. So again to Kevin from Advocacy for that great film, which is a real insight into what it feels like to be in receipt of care. And really it is about care. Because when we hear the words adult protection, we often get quite frightened and think it's something quite scary, but it is all about looking after people like Peter, and that's a really good film to help illustrate that, I feel. I'd also like to say thanks very much to the speakers, to Val and to Nicola, for sharing the synopsis of the inspection and the code of practice. Also to yourselves for joining in, coming along and joining in. The aim with these sessions is to do some more sessions like this, small 1-hour sessions next year on themed areas that are particularly useful for stakeholders, people involved in adult protection and others. And some of what you've contributed today to these Jamboards will help us to form ideas about themes or gaps that might actually be useful to have speakers or information sharing, or again events like this where we hear directly from people who are working on the ground about what's actually happening. And those sorts of things are invaluable to help committees who aren't necessarily always directly involved in work, apart from in a strategic manner, hear about what's actually happening. So again, I'd like to say thanks, and we've come to our time. If you do get a chance to fill in the evaluation, please do. But again, just like to say thanks very much to everyone and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for coming along.